Hello, this is Brent from Black Crow Gaming, and I'm here to talk to you today about the new Death Guard Codex. Firstly, I'd like to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Terrain Forge, Glasshammer Gaming, and Trident Futureworks, who make excellent cases. So, I'm here today. This is my second time out off the leash, and hopefully the audio works a little bit better. It's being checked by Aaron, don't worry. You've probably seen some of these Death Guard leaks. They've been all over the place. There's already lots of bat reps and videos, but this is going to be my take on it, what I think looks nice, what I think looks good, and hopefully a bit of an experienced eye. So the Codex is out next week or 2 weeks, so not too long yet. Is the Codex as good as the hype? Will I be answering that, Codex? Yes, it is. Right, thanks, excellent. Oh, no, wait, Aaron would be really, really annoyed if that's all I gave you guys, so better give you some more. So what makes it better? Why is this Codex? Why has it got everyone talking? Why has it got all the World Eaters players really upset? It's because ours is a definite upgrade, like a very obvious upgrade, whereas the World Eaters Codex is a little bit more subtle. The army rule got better. It got better because in the index attachment, Plague Company, you got to choose between 3 plagues that were afflicted upon your enemies if they were in contagion range. That's now part of the army rule. So it, like companies like the Fly Blown Host attachment has suddenly got a big buff because of that. It's got like effectively a second rule. So that's the first thing. It's a very obvious buff. The next thing is there are better detachments. Um, there's more choice. There's quite a few more, and frankly, some of them are pretty good. They're quite spicy. And the last thing that makes this better, I mean, it's the trifecta. It's everything you get when you play the game. I'm rules, attachments, and data sheets, and every single one is better than the index. So, can you blame people for being a little bit salty towards Death Guard? Yeah, so let's have a little look. As I said, the army rule's just better. The spread the sickness aura from the index attachment is now on all detachments. The only thing which is technically a minor, teeny tiny little nerf is that the Skull Squirm Blight, which used to reduce weapon skill and ballistic skill, now just gives you a flat -1 to hit. This is big because it used to stack. You can reduce a model's characteristics and then its dice roll. But Scabrous Soul Rot, which used to reduce OC, now reduces leadership and movement as well. So actually, that one got quite a lot better. Better new detachments. I'm going to go through all the detachments, give my thoughts on them, and then I'm going to tell you my favourite data sheets and the worst data sheets, not the many that came out badly. So the Virulent Vectorum, this is effectively the index attachment. It's got sticky objectives. It's got a few of the same stratagems, but completely different enhancements. And 2 of them are pretty good, and 2 of them are okay. So the enhancements we've got are Arch Contaminator. This is if you are on an objective, it can go to any Death Guard model if you're on an objective, that your unit gets to reroll wounds. This is great because you're not shooting at an objective, you're where you want to be. You're on the objective, shooting off of it. And just reroll wounds is something that Death Guard didn't have a lot of, and now they do. We'll get into that later. But yeah, this is a good enhancement for, say, your Foul Blightspawn, your biologists, whatever you want to put it on. It's just a good enhancement. Revolting Regeneration is a 5-up Feel No Pain for the bearer. This is okay. It has a very specific target. Most people are thinking about putting this on a Demon Prince because the Nurgle Demon Prince, no spoilers, is looking really good. It's looking really like an auto include in a lot of competitive lists. So giving it a 5-up Feel No Pain when it's toughness 12 with a 2-up, 4-up, suddenly you're looking at a mini Mortarian. The other 2 are just affect the bearer, and they're just combat buffs. So one gives a 5-up critical hits, which is nice if you've got lethals or sustained, and the other one gives you +1 strength and attacks and dev wounds. Once again, it's quite nice if you have reroll wounds, dev wounds. So you might put it on something that's going to go in with another, like Plague Marines can take 2 leaders, so you might decide one of them has that enhancement and the other one has the reroll wounds enhancement, and suddenly people don't want to charge that unit because it does a lot more damage. Stratagems, Putrid Detonation. This one, you've seen it in a lot of other detachment. It's automatically exploding if you get destroyed. It's quite good. A lot of the demonic vehicles, I know Morty has D6 for his when he explodes. So yeah, so it could be quite interesting. I think it's just sort of a space filler. Disgustingly resilient. This is the same as the index. It's -1 damage. I think it is shooting and fight phase, so it's quite good, especially if you've got like Terminators with 3 wounds and once someone shoots like the perfect 3 damage profile at you, -1 damage, then it doubles their survivability. It is 2 CP. It's a little costly. Plague Surge is increasing their contagion range by 3 inches. It's okay. Leech Spore Eruption. This one is another really interesting one, especially with Morty. So basically, it heals your character by the amount of damage it does. It's good. Like if you've got Morty on 3 or 4 wounds, and he comes back a little bit, that's fantastic. The other 2 are a bit hit or miss. So Creeping Blight, you can reroll hit and wound rolls. Actually, no, they're pretty good. They're pretty decent. So the wording for Creeping Blight is it's in your shooting phase, and each time a model in your unit makes a ranged attack that targets an afflicted unit, you can reroll the hit and you can reroll the wound. So that's really, really good. And Overwhelming Generosity, select 1 enemy visible to your unit until the end of the phase. Each time a Death Guard unit from that army selects that enemy unit as the target for a ranged attack, you can reroll the dice to determine how many attacks a weapon equipped by a model in that unit makes. So if you've got lots of CP, that one's worth taking, but it's okay. The rerolls are especially good in this detachment. So you reroll, you can effectively have a couple of units that rerolling their wound rolls and makes them very consistent. Okay, Champions of Contagion. A lot of people are thinking that this is the best one, and I can see why. The detachment rule isn't the best. So basically, you get to choose between the 3 plagues that we mentioned at the start of the battle round. Now, the battle round it's an awkward timing because your opponent will know which plague you've chosen, but it's still useful. Sometimes you want to swap between the objective one, the OC one, if you want to, secure your expansion, if you want to secure objectives. And sometimes most of the time, I always felt I was playing the -1 armor save. Unless you're playing demons, that was always the best one to choose. However, so the detachment rule's a bit mediocre. The enhancements are pretty good. The best one is Final Ingredient. So basically, this one goes on one of the 2 that you always take, Biologist Putrefier, and if his unit kills a character unit in melee, then you choose another plague symptom, and when your opponent is in contagion range, then they get that plague as well. So you could have the -1 to hit and the -1 armor save. And these stack up. This is good. I think pretty much everyone will be taking this as an enhancement. Vision of Virulence. This is another pretty good one. And it's for the Malignant Plague caster, and it puts them in contagion range effectively. So I think he's had an extension to his range for his flame or his bolt pistol, and it's okay. It's neat. Needle of Lurgle means that your plague surgeon brings back more guys, and cornicophagus, cornicophagus. This is good for the new model, the Lord of Poxes, and it effectively means at the start of the game you pick another plague, and he gets to be in that plague permanently as well. So actually, for him, in this detachment, it could be at the point where you've got all 3 plagues up and running, which it could be useful, could be quite good. The real strength of this detachment is its stratagems. Blessings of Filth is so what you get from that is you get critical hit rolls of 5 for any attached unit. So normally this would be the biologist putrefier's job to give a unit, critical 5s and lethal hits. This allows you to put it on a unit without that in, maybe even a Terminator unit, or if you decide you want a different type of lieutenant in your Plague Marine brick, you can take this one. Malignant Magnified. This is a 2 CP strat, and it gives you reroll hits and wounds against a unit that is below starting strength. Once again, very good. You're getting all the buffs. In terms of rerolls, very efficient. Grotesque Fortitude. I believe this one, it gives you +2 to your toughness for 1 CP. Now, a lot of the Nurgle Plague Marines, all the infantry has gone up by 1 or 2 points of toughness. So it's all now really, like Terminators are toughness 7. So going up another 2, toughness 9 Terminators, suddenly like anti-tank weaponry is ruining you on 4s sometimes. And it just boosts their survivability. Like if you get charged by a unit of 8 bound and their strength 8 in combat, they're going from wounding you on 3s to wounding you on 5s. That's a really big deal. Rabid Infusion. This one's fantastic. It's fights first. It's a 1 CP fights first strat. This is why we used to take the Foul Blight spawn. You might feel like you want to combo the Plague Caster with the Biologist now, because that gives you sustained lethal 5s, and instead of giving up fights first, you can now have this guy, which is really nice. Mobile Vector. This one's a bit odd. You basically, in this edition of 40k, you can't join a unit halfway through the game, and now you can. If you've got a character that's within 2 inches of a unit, so how close it'd normally be for CP, he then counts as joining that unit. It might happen. I can't see this being a very common strat. Death's Head is a stratagem for a unit with the grenades keyword, and it basically puts an opponent's unit into all 3 of the plagues. It can be quite useful for like stealing objectives, because you can reduce their OC and their toughness. Yeah, it can, and also you've got to remember this is an 8-inch range, because it's a grenade effectively. So maybe turn 1 or turn 2, when you only have a 6-inch contagion range and you need that little bit extra, that might be a bit helpful. I can see it being used if you've got CP to burn. Okay, so Hammer of Mortarian. This one is it's meant to be like a vehicle detachment. You've got the detachment rule is you pick 2 enemy units at the start of the battle round, and they count as being afflicted or in contagion range. This is okay, especially because it means that at long range, your tanks don't have to be close up to, get the buff benefits of your opponent being in, contagion. It's also really good because there are quite a lot of units have abilities like the Death Shroud Terminators, where they can come in 6 inches if you're in contagion range. Now this is actually quite a nice little idea, that you can now afflict a unit that you want to come down near, and there's not a lot your opponent can't do it. They can't stay back, because you can pick a couple of units. So yeah, I think this is going to be quite good. You might even attach a Lord of Virulence to that unit that comes down within 6, and guess what? Then your Plague Burst Crawlers getting full rerolls to hits, and they're in contagion range, and you can charge them because you're 6 inches away. So this one's is a little bit subtler. The detachment, enhancement, and strats aren't as good, but there are some synergies to be had. So some of the good ones here, as I said, you can put your Lord of Virulence in Blight Lord. Now they all have flamers, which means if you put a Shriekworm familiar in the squad, they get to Overwatch for free, which is quite nice. I quite like that. Tendrilous emissions. This means that this is specifically for a Lord of Virulence, and it basically gives him lone op if he's within 3 inches of a vehicle. However, I personally think he'd be better off in this attachment with Blight Lord Terminators and dropping in and using his ability to get you full rerolls to hit. That's my personal opinion. I think that's where it's at. The other two, the Biomore Blight, this gives the Malignant Plague caster an additional 12 inches to his ranged attack. So his flamer is 24-inch range. It's okay. There are better choices to lead your Plague Marines, unfortunately, at the moment, unless you're in the Champions detachment, and then you won't get this buff. And the last one is Eye of Affliction, and this strips cover from an enemy unit. It's okay, it's nice, it's neat to be used with the -1 armor plague, because you're just stripping back all their buffs and defenses. Like if you've got an AP1 weapon and then suddenly they're in contagion range with this, it's like AP3. So stripping cover is quite good, but it's only for the squad, so it might be better in some squads than others. The stratagems, Blighted Land. So what this does is you pick a piece of terrain, and any unit that is in that terrain counts as being afflicted or in your contagion range, which is okay. It's not awful. It's good on dense terrain boards like UKTC, where your opponent, if they're in combat and if they're combat army and they're trying to stage somewhere, that's quite useful. Relentless Grind. This is for vehicles. We've seen this before in other armies and detachments. They can move vertically through terrain. This is an issue a lot of Death Guard vehicles have, but it's useful for rhinos. It's not the worst stratagem in the world to have. Drawn to Despair. This is it sounds like a really good stratagem. You get full rerolls to hit against an enemy unit. However, they've got to be inside their deployment zone. And you've got to be able to see them as well. So this isn't even good for indirect pieces. It's got to be a visible enemy unit. And like as we've said before on terrain dense boards, you don't normally get to see your opponent when they're in their deployment zone. Normally they're hiding behind things, and if they're not, well, it's okay. They don't have to be. Font of Filth. This is a enhancement. This is a stratagem that gives a vehicle the assault keywords for all its weapons. It's okay. There are a couple which you'd want to, if you want to get an angle on something, if you want to be able to see something turn one, maybe you want to be able to see into your opponent's deployment zone, and you're sending it out there with assault turn one. So that could happen. Stinking Mire is a stratagem very similar to the enhancement from the index attachment, where it is -2 to your charge rolls. It's useful. However, it does say that you can't then get any other negatives to your charge rolls, so it doesn't stack with the Plague caster, which is okay. Like -2 is alright, but it's sad that it doesn't stack, because that would have been especially spicy, like -4 to your charge rolls. And the last one is Eye Stinger Storm. You select a objective that's visible to you, and every single enemy unit on that objective has to take a battle shock test at -1. I do like this because there are other ways of reducing leadership. However, it specifically says they don't take any more leadership tests this turn. So if they pass, they pass. If they fail, they fail. However, with the Plague, that reduces leadership, that reduces the characteristic, and this reduces the roll. So forcing everyone on a objective to take a battle shock test at -2, suddenly things like Armor of Contempt, -1 damage strats for other armies, they're looking a little bit harder for them to achieve. So this detachment, I think, is is one of the better ones. I think it's got a lot of play. Taliban Summoners. Oh, how they've done our poor little Nurglings dirty. Now, we've all had them. I had 9 Nurglings, 3 units of free, and I have a feeling they might be sat on the shelf getting dust for a little while. Taliban Summoners is effectively the demon detachment. We've seen it with World Eaters and Emperor's Children. The only way you get demon allies now is if you take this specific detachment. You can take up about 1,000 points. It's okay with this one if your demons are in range of your plague legions, are in range of your death guard, then you get a boost to your contagion range, and if they're in range they also gain the contagion range keyword. It's fine. The enhancements are okay. There's nothing really like you'd want to go out and play with that much. So Fell Harvester is to add 2 attacks to the characteristic of a bearer's melee weapon. That's okay. Beckoning Blight. Each time a Plague Legion's unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using Deep Strike, it can be set up wholly within 12 inches. Then it can be 6 inches from an enemy model. That's the problem I have with that is you've got to be close enough to the enemy for that to take effect. And if you've got a unit with a big footprint, it's still going to be hard for them to be 6 inches away and wholly within 12 of you. So it's okay. There is a great unclean one enhancement that gives them in the battle shock test of your opponent's command phase, each enemy unit within 6 has to take a battle shock. Okay, yep. They're fine. They have a couple of interesting strats, but nothing that would make me want to play them. Virulent Vectorum. This is the poxwalkers attachment. I I don't really rate this detachment because I think if you're relying on spawning more poxwalkers, something's gone wrong anyway. I'd rather have something that buffs my plague marines, my terminators, my tanks, and not something that gives me more of a trash unit. And also, the best thing about poxwalkers is they have infiltrate now, and because Shamble Vectorum spawns them in rounds 2, 3, and 4, you don't even get to make you know play with that. Now, another issue is poxwalkers are slow, so if you're bringing them in on the sides, then they're not getting anywhere. They're not getting where they want to be. So I think this is a very, very mid detachment. Um, it's all of the enhancements and strats affect poxwalkers. They do gain the battle line keyword, so you can take 6 units of them. But I feel like I would want to take something that, but as I said, unless you're playing like a fun game, I want to take something that boosts the unit I want to take. So um, the enhancements are Witherbone Pipes. This is for Noxious Blightbringers, and they can join a unit of Poxwalkers, and it's add 1 to their OC, Battle Shock, and Leadership tests. Cool, that's lovely. Lord of the Walking Pox, Death Guard models only. If the bearer is leading a Poxwalker unit and is in strategic reserves, for the purpose of setting up that unit on the battlefield, treat the current battle round as the 3rd battle round. Now, this is because they come in from strategic reserve. I don't think this means you can come in turn 1, but it means when you come in turn 2, you can come in your opponent's deployment zone. So it's okay. It negates that sort of speed issue, but it's still not that hard to screen out your deployment zone turn 2. The Sorry Siphon, Malignant Plague Caster. So what this does is it makes the Malignant Plague Caster's flame weapon really good. +1 strength, +1 damage. However, it kills the amount of damage you do kills like D3 poxwalkers. So it's fine, but if you're killing your own stuff off for like a mediocre buff, it's not what I would want to do. Talisman of Burgeoning, it's another buff for poxwalkers, and it gives them +1 toughness, which is cool. It makes them toughness 5. That's quite hard for people to chew through with the 5-up Feel No Pain. The only strats you really need to worry about with this one is Smeared with Filth is quite interesting. I think it would have been absolutely fine if it wasn't poxwalkers, but if a unit kills a if one of your opponent's units kills a unit of poxwalkers, then they are afflicted for the rest of the game, so they're always in contagion range. Hidden amongst the dead is quite interesting. It means when you bring your poxwalkers in, they can come in via deep strike, which is obviously you can put them somewhere good. And shambling wall is probably the best attachment, best stratagem in this detachment. And what it does is if your poxwalkers are within 3 inches of a unit and your opponent targets that unit, all the attacks have to be allocated to the poxwalkers. Now this happens after when you allocate attacks, so they have to roll to hit, they have to roll to wound, and then you allocate them to the poxwalkers, so they can definitely benefit from another unit's toughness. So if you've got a toughness 12 model, say Morty, then you know they have ablative wounds for him, which is kind of cool. I like that. Um, Now how it works is you then don't take saves for the poxwalkers. You just lose the amount of poxwalkers equal to the damage that was done. So if your opponent's got like a las cannon, um, or something like that's low AP, but really high damage, I can't think of any off the top of my head, then it might mow down 7 poxwalkers in one go. So it's not like you're trading a las 7 wounds for a poxwalker. You're trading 7 poxwalkers for 7 wounds on someone more important. So that's the poxwalker strat. Death Lord's Chosen. This is another interesting one. Um, it's another okay detachment. Basically, you do mortal wounds if you're close to your enemy. So how the wording is: in your opponent's command phase, roll 2d6 for every afflicted enemy unit, subtracting 1 from the result if that unit is below half strength. If the result is 6 or less, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. It's fine, if it's stacked and if you were within 3 units, so you had to do that 3 times, it would be interesting. But a couple of mortal wounds here or there, I don't know if it cuts the mustard. And a lot of the buffs and strats are for Terminators, and Terminators did get a big buff. I'm not, you could play this detachment, but they're a bit mediocre for me. So, Face of Death, Terminator model only. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy unit within engagement range with the bearer's units must take a battle shock. Once again, you've got ways of reducing battle shock, both their leadership characteristic and their dice roll. So it could be okay. Vile Vigor. While the bearer is leading a unit, add 1 inch to the movement of models in that unit, and you can re-roll advanced rolls made for that unit. Cool. That's not too bad actually, especially because there's a strat that will work really well for this with this enhancement. One of the things with uh, the Death Guard Codex is they don't have access to a lot of assault or advance and charge. In fact, I can't think of any advance of charge in the Codex. So if you can force them to drop in, then they are quite slow. I mean, they've got rhinos, but the Terminators, once the Terminators are in, they're in. They're not, you know, going up and down. They're not messing around. So having this like a little bit of extra speed is quite good. But speaking about uppy downy, we do have uppy downy. This is the only uppy downy I think in the Codex, and it's Terminator model. Once per battle at the end of your opponent's turn, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range, you can remove it from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves, which is fine. It's really good on, I think, on Blight Lords, who are quite a shooty unit because they can actually come down. But it's also good for Death Shroud because of their 6-inch deep strike ability. They could go down, kill a unit, go back up again. That's good jujubes. Helm of the Fly King, um, another reasonable enhancement. It gives the Terminator model 18-inch low knob for his unit. 18-inch low knob isn't that hard to come around, to get around, but at least it gives you some protection from tanks. You might want to deploy on an objective that's open. You might be playing on GW terrain where it is quite open sometimes, and this just gives you a little bit more protection. Okay, so let's look at some enhancements. That was the enhancements we just did. Let's look at some stratagems. Blooming Pestilence, add 3 inches to your contagion range. We've seen other strats like this, seen other enhancements like this. It's fine. It If you're trying to play the Contagion game where you're definitely trying to keep your opponent in debuffs, it's a CP. It might be that you've thrown a unit forward and his only job is to get everyone in contagion range, in which case, fair enough. That's quite cool. Grim Reapers, Terminator's unit. Um, it's in the fight phase. They re-roll the hit rolls. Fantastic. It's not. It doesn't include monsters and vehicles. It's so basically, if your Terminator's going into infantry or beasts or mounted, it gives them a buff. It gives them rerolls to hit. There's plenty of rerolls to hit and wound in this codex now. Bonza. Undying Spite. It's a fight on death strat. 4+ fight on death strat. I would have preferred a 2 CP auto fight, but it's good. It is, people who charge Terminators, it's something that puts them off. Signal Pox. This is where you pick an objective, and any unit on that objective is in contagion range. Like the other stratagem that was a piece of terrain, an objective I think is better, especially in this Terminator attachment, because that's where your opponent wants to be. It's not because it's just one plague. It's not the end of the world, but it's okay. It's fine. Mortarian's teachings, as I sort of alluded to earlier, this stratagem gives you assault and heavy for your weapons. So if you're getting reroll uh, advance rolls and +1 movement, suddenly your Blight Lord Terminators, who are your shooting Terminators, and they can actually shoot now, spoiler, then it gives them a nice threat range. It actually means that your opponent can't be like 20 inches away and be like, haha, you're not shooting me. It means that they can get around the board a little bit easier, especially if you're upping and downing with a different unit. It means these Terminators are actually moving around the board during the game and they're not just stuck somewhere. And the last one, Sickening Impact, it's like grenades when you charge. So you roll a dice on a 4+ for every model in your unit. Then you do a mortal wound. It's fine. It's nice extra stratagem to do some mortal wounds. So that is all the detachments. I haven't really gone over Flyblown Host, but I actually think that's a big winner from just the buffs to the datasheet and the army rule. I'm planning to play a few games with Flyblown Host. So yeah, I'll let you know how they go. So the datasheet winners and why they're the winners. So Mortarian has lost his ignore modifiers buff, which it is a big loss because it means we're more vulnerable to people like Deathwing Knights and -1 damage strats, which is fine, it's acceptable. However, boy oh boy, he's quite spicy now. So first of all, his data sheet didn't really change apart from his leadership went up. He's still 2 up, 2+ invuln, 4+, 2+ armor save, 4+ invuln, 5 up, feel no pain, toughness 12, 16 wounds. It's pretty good. His ranged weapons all went up to range 24, which is quite nice. I can see that being useful. But what really got good was his melee abilities. He has a 15 attack, strength 8, AP 2 damage sweep now. And a lot of the strats that gave you reroll hits and wounds just target a Death Guard unit. So suddenly he's looking like a very consistent damage dealer. I mean, the sweep attack is lethal hits and sustained hits. So if you're hitting on 2s, that's, it's quite good to fish for. And the strike has gone from damage 4 to D6+1. So I think on average it's about the same damage output, but I think I prefer D6+1, especially if you are going into -1 damage infantry or tanks, like the ability to spike up or reroll sometimes. If you roll a 1, you reroll it. I think that's a good thing. So his abilities, his host of plagues, he does lots of mortal wounds if you're within 6 inches, basically. It's on a 3+, you take D3 mortals. So he can start, if he's in the middle of the battlefield, he could pump out a couple of mortal wounds. His real strength, though, the real reason he's a data sheet winner is his Lord ability. As other armies have, you'll have 3 abilities and you pick one. His doesn't get picked until you use it, which is unique to him. It's a really nice thing to have. So if you're within 6 inches of him, and you get a reactive move, a 5-inch reactive, if a unit finishes their move with a 9-inch view. Lovely. That everyone loves a reactive move. You have a full back, sorry, a shoot back if you get shot. If you're within 6 inches of Morty, say you unit Plague Marines or Terminators, you're within 6 inches of Morty, you get shot. Guess what? You're shooting back. And some units you don't want to be shot back by. Blight Lord Terminators, Plague Marines if they've gone for like melter guns, plasma guns, flamers. And the last one is Fight on Death, which is, it's just useful to have. An auto Fight on Death is fantastic. And because you pick this once per turn, like Gilliman, it's not battle round. And it's gamey. It gives you options and things that you can do. The Demon Prince on foot, on Mini Morty, is another data sheet winner. So he has gone to toughness 12, 2 up armor save, 4 up invuln save, and in one of the attachments, Virulent Vectorum, he can get 5 up Feel No Pain. His abilities are where he shines. So he now has a 12-inch aura of a free strat. This is once per battle round, unfortunately, which is once per turn, but it's battle round. However, it's good to get free strats on units which otherwise wouldn't get them. You know, Plague Marines. You could do it to Morty himself, get a free strat on him. It's just a very good generic rule. He transfers cover to every infantry unit within 6 inches of him, which is okay. It's fine. It's normally you're not out in the open. It's so easy to get cover this edition, but it's a little benefit. And he has a 3-inch lone ops ability if he's within a lone ops ability if he's within 3 inches of infantry. So that combined with, you know, the contagions that he'll be in, he has an extra attack compared to the other demon princes, which is odd. He has like 7 attacks on his strike profile, I think, and it's AP2 damage free, which is effectively AP3 damage free, and he's got lethal hits. So for some reason, our demon prince is quite good. I don't know whether they're trying to go with Nurgle's number 7, but yeah, it's 7 attacks and 14 on the sweep at 611. It's good. He is pricey at the MFM at the moment, but I think personally I prefer him to Morty at the moment. I know Morty's fantastic at 380, but I don't like investing that much in a single unit. Lord of Contagion, this guy is phenomenal now. He's had a glow up. So he is a Terminator Lord. He can join either of the 2 Terminators. He has a damage free strike, which is always fantastic. But his true abilities are his 2 true greatness comes in his abilities. He gives his unit sustained hits and lance. Normally you get one of those from a character, not both. So that's fantastic. And just sneakily, he has an ability where he gets back up on a 2+ after he dies. I think, so what I'm planning to do is take him in Flyblown Host, where you can give him the enhancement that gets him all his wounds back. And then suddenly, like, you've killed him. Oh, he's back. Oh, you almost killed him. Ah, he's back again. And I think that's just going to be really torrid for people to deal with. He's toughness 7, like all Terminators now. He looks like a really good tech piece for your army. The lieutenant characters. So this is primarily aimed at the Champions of Contagion and Detachment, because you've got the 2 strats in there that effectively replicate the Biologist Putrefier and the other one's abilities. It means you can start to maybe experiment with the other lieutenant characters, and they're all quite cheap as well. They're all about the 45 point mark. So the Taliban is 45 points now. He might be 40 points, and you just take him to screen your backfield and give you a CP occasionally. You know, I think they're pointed at a reasonable place now, and you can experiment with them. Unfortunately, it is mostly just the Champions of Contagion detachment, but it's all right. Why are the Terminators datasheet winners? So the Death Shroud are, they've gone up in points. However, they're definitely worth it. They've gone up in toughness, they've gone up in wounds, and their melee attacks are great now. So they've lost the -1 to wounding when they've got a character attached. That's sad. And what they've gained from it is a 6-inch deep strike if the unit that they're 6-inching away from is in contagion range. And because you obviously come in at the end of the movement phase, you can move, get them in contagion range, bish bash bosh, and you can charge afterwards. It's just, it's going to be really a real nightmare for people to screen. Blight Lords got, considering where they were, they are now much better. Their guns all became a lot stronger. The Blight launchers, more shots. They got faster and tougher. And their ability is, if they started at a certain strength, you basically add +1 strength and AP to all their guns, which is lovely. It's fantastic. It means like their bolt guns are going to be strength 5 AP1, effectively strength 5 AP2. If you're shooting them at Marines, you're wounding on freeze. You might have a Lord of Virulence in there for reroll wounds. Suddenly they go from mid damage, and I've seen this in bat reps, to quite a lot of damage they can do from shooting. So I think both of the Terminators will see play. You've probably heard about this already, the feated Blight drone with heavy Blight launcher. It's 100 points. He is relatively fast. He's got an invuln save, and he has a strength 10 AP2 free damage weapon, D6 plus 2 shots. But it's blast. The big thing is these guys really link well with the Lord of Virulence, because he gives blast weapons full rerolls to hit, and they're lethal hits, full rerolls to hit. They're just strength 10 AP2 free damage. They can shoot anything. They can shoot elite infantry, they can shoot chaff, they can shoot tanks, and 3 of them are 300 points, and they can kill a tank in a turn. And they're not easy to bring down because of their invuln save. 5 up invuln, it's easy to spike. It's easy to spike low as well, but it's certainly worth having. And the last one I want to highlight is the Rhino. So the humble Rhino in Death Guard now gives reroll to wounds when you exit, and it shoots at the same unit. This is it's just a really, really good buff. Like, you shunt some Plague Marines in Rhino, they come up the board, they get out, they delete a unit. It's just for the points and the utility, and the fact you're taking them anyway because Plague Marines are slow. For it to suddenly have a really meaningful ability that will affect the game and you will use it consistently, that's a real, onto a winner there. The datasheet losers. So there's only 3 really that I think are losers. Everything else had a bit of a glow up. Nurglings, unfortunately, as you can see, like the little good and bad Nurgling, they can only be taken in 1 detachment now, so my 9 will be sat on the shelf. Plague Burst Crawlers are expensive, and I think there's just better options with the Blight drones and Blight launchers getting blast now for the rerolls to hit from the Lord of Virulence. I can see play with them in Mortarian's Hammer, especially because you can pick up afflicted units and you can, put your Lord of Virulence somewhere where he can see units that otherwise he wouldn't be able to see. I think that is probably going to be something that sees play, especially if Champions gets nerfed a little bit. And the Predator Annihilator, it does, I think on a 5+ after it's shot a vehicle, it might do D3 mortals. So it's expensive, and it does, basically, it has no synergy in this army book. So yeah, they're the only losers. Everything else is about the same, or it's had a glow up. I'm really looking forward to getting these on the table. I'm painting them at the moment. I've had them for a few years, and I've finally got around to it. I'm going for a classic Death Guard Horus Heresy colour scheme. So I might try and do a video on how I'm painting them at the moment, because I think they're looking pretty good. Thank you very much for listening to me. See you next time.